November 22nd, 2025, 3:47 a.m. A silent house in rural Oregon. Emma Carter, 6 years old, sits cross-legged on her bedroom floor, surrounded by 73 drawings. She hasn't spoken a single word since birth, but what she's drawn tonight will make scientists question everything they know about the universe. Her small hands move frantically across the paper, charcoal smudging her fingertips black. Tears stream down her face. She's drawing the interior of a comet. A comet discovered 4 months ago. A comet she's never seen. A comet that, according to every law of physics and human experience, she could never ever know. But she doesn't just know it. She remembers it. And what terrifies her parents most isn't the impossible accuracy of her drawings. It's the way she draws herself inside it. Before we continue, subscribe to this channel and tell us in the comments, what city are you watching from? You're going to want to follow this story. 48 hours earlier, November 20th, 2025, the Carter farmhouse sits at the edge of Willow Creek, Oregon, population 847. Fog rolls thick across the fields every morning, the kind of fog that swallows sound. That makes the world feel smaller, more isolated. Emma Carter was born without a voice, not mute by choice, not traumatized into silence. Doctors called it selective mutism at first, then congenital vocal cord paralysis, then, when nothing fit, an unexplained neurological anomaly. She'd never cried as a baby, never laughed, never screamed, just silence, profound, unbreakable silence, but she could hear everything. Her parents, David and Claire Carter, had learned to communicate through gestures, through expressions, through the language of presence. Emma understood everything. She just couldn't respond. Until 3 months ago, when she started drawing. It began innocently. Simple sketches, trees, the family dog, her mother's face, normal childhood art. But then October arrived, and with it something changed. On October 30th, 2025, Comet 3I Atlas reached its perihelion, its closest point to the sun. News outlets barely covered it. Just another celestial object passing through. David Carter, an amateur astronomer, had set up his telescope in the backyard that night. He'd called Emma outside, lifted her up, let her peer through the lens at the distant smudge of light streaking across the constellation Orion. She'd looked for exactly 7 seconds. Then she'd stumbled backward, fallen onto the wet grass, and stared up at the sky with an expression her father would later describe to police as recognition. That night, Emma drew her first impossible picture. Claire found it the next morning, November the 1st, tucked under Emma's pillow. The paper was damp with sweat. The drawing was different, not childlike, not simple. It showed a tunnel or a cavern. Organic walls that curved and pulsed with strange geometric patterns, symbols etched along the edges, symbols that looked ancient, deliberate, intelligent. And in the center of the drawing, a small figure, a girl, floating, surrounded by something that looked like ice and fire merged together. "Did you dream this, sweetheart?" Claire had asked, kneeling beside Emma's bed. Emma didn't nod, didn't shake her head. She just stared at the drawing with wide, terrified eyes. That was the beginning. Over the next 3 weeks, Emma's behavior spiraled into obsession. Every night, she would wake at exactly 3:47 a.m. Claire and David installed a baby monitor in her room after they found her drawing in the dark, by moonlight alone, her small body rocking back and forth. The drawings multiplied, 10, 20, 50, all depicting the same impossible place, the interior of something vast and hollow, walls covered in frost and strange bioluminescent growths, structures that defied geometry. And always, the small figure of a girl floating in the center. Sometimes the girl was alone. Sometimes she was surrounded by shapes, entities that Emma drew with trembling hands. Their forms neither human nor entirely alien, tall, elongated, with too many limbs or none at all. David tried to rationalize it. Kids have vivid imaginations. She probably saw something on TV. "She doesn't watch TV," Claire interrupted. "And even if she did, how would she know this? She held up the latest drawing. It showed a cross-section of a comet nucleus, layers of ice, rock, and organic compounds labeled with precision that no 6-year-old should possess. Chemical formulas scrawled in the margins, diagrams of orbital mechanics. David's hands shook as he took the paper. This is accurate. This is real astrophysics. How? Claire's voice cracked. How does she know this? November 22nd, 2025. The night everything shattered. Claire woke to the sound of scratching, not the soft rustle of pencil on paper, something harsher, more frantic. She stumbled down the hallway, David close behind, and pushed open Emma's door. The room was freezing. Their breath misted in the air. Every window was closed, but frost had formed on the glass from the inside. Emma sat in the center of the floor, surrounded by a perfect circle of drawings. 73 of them, arranged in a spiral pattern. She was drawing with charcoal now, her fingers bleeding from gripping it too hard. Tears streamed silently down her face. Her entire body trembled. "Emma!" Claire rushed forward, but David grabbed her arm. "Wait! Look!" The drawings weren't random. They told a story, a chronological sequence. The first drawing showed Earth from space. The second showed a streak of light approaching, 3-eye Atlas. The third showed the comet's nucleus splitting open. And the fourth showed something emerging. "Oh my God," David whispered. Emma finished the drawing she was working on and immediately started another. Her movements were mechanical, possessed, as if her hands were being guided by something beyond her control. Claire knelt down, gently touching Emma's shoulder. "Sweetheart, please, you need to stop. You're hurting yourself." Emma's head snapped up. Her eyes locked onto her mother's, and for the first time in 6 years, her mouth opened. No sound came out, but her lips formed a single word, clear and unmistakable. "Help." Claire stumbled backward, hand over her mouth. Emma returned to drawing, faster now, more desperate. The image taking shape showed the interior of the comet again, but this time there were coordinates written along the bottom, precise astronomical coordinates, and a date, December 19th, 2025, the day 3-eye Atlas would make its closest approach to Earth, 27 days away, November 23rd, 2025, 6:32 a.m. The Carter family sat in stunned silence at their kitchen table. Emma had finally fallen asleep around 4:15 a.m., collapsing into her mother's arms after completing the 73rd drawing. Claire had carried her to bed, staying by her side until exhaustion overtook them both. Now, in the cold morning light, David spread the drawings across the table, trying to make sense of them, trying to find logic in the impossible. "We need to call someone," Claire said quietly. Her eyes were red from crying, from not sleeping, from the horror of watching her daughter suffer through something neither of them could understand. "Who?" David's voice was hollow. "Who do we call about this? A doctor? A psychiatrist? Someone who... A psychiatrist can't explain this." David picked up one of the drawings, the one with the chemical formulas. "This is advanced astrophysics, Claire. Graduate-level knowledge. She's 6 years old. She's never been to school. She can't even speak. How could she possibly know?" "Then what are you suggesting?" Claire's voice rose. "That she's what? Psychic? That she's actually been inside a comet? That's insane." "I know it's insane." David slammed his hand on the table. "But look at these. Look at them. These aren't the drawings of a child with an overactive imagination. They're memories." The word hung in the air between them. Memories. "That's impossible," Claire whispered. "So is everything else about this." 3 days later, November 26th, Dr. Sarah Chen, astrophysicist at the Oregon Observatory, received an email that would change her life. The subject line read, "Urgent, need expert analysis of child's drawings." She almost deleted it, almost dismissed it as spam or conspiracy theory nonsense, but something made her click. The email was from David Carter, brief, desperate. It included 12 attached images. "My daughter has been drawing these. She's 6. She's never spoken. She's never studied astronomy, but these drawings show things about Comet 3I Atlas that shouldn't be possible for her to know. Please, I need someone to tell me I'm crazy, or tell me I'm not. Dr. Chen opened the first image, froze, opened the second. Her hands began to shake. By the fourth image, she was on the phone. Mr. Carter, this is Dr. Sarah Chen. I'm coming to see you. Today. Dr. Chen arrived at the Carter farmhouse at 2:17 p.m., young, early 30s, with the intensity of someone who dedicated her entire life to understanding the universe. She stepped into the house carrying equipment, a laptop, tablets, measurement tools. Emma sat on the living room couch clutching a stuffed rabbit. She watched Dr. Chen with those impossibly old eyes. "May I?" Dr. Chen gestured toward the drawings, now organized across the dining table. "Please," David said, "tell us we're losing our minds." Dr. Chen spent 47 minutes examining the drawings in complete silence. She took photographs, made measurements, cross-referenced them with data on her laptop. Her expression shifted from skepticism to confusion to outright alarm. Finally, she looked up. "Where did she get this information?" "That's what we're asking you," Claire said. "No, you don't understand." Dr. Chen's voice was shaking now. "These drawings, they show the internal structure of 3I Atlas, the chemical composition, the density gradations. We just received this data from the James Webb Space Telescope 3 days ago. It hasn't been published yet. It's classified research. And even if it weren't," she picked up one of the drawings, "she's showing things that the telescope can't see, internal structures that we can only theorize about." "How is that possible?" David asked. "It's not." Dr. Chen set the drawing down carefully, as if it might shatter. "It's not possible. Unless—" She trailed off. "Unless what?" Dr. Chen turned to look at Emma. "Unless she's actually seen it." Over the next week, Dr. Chen became a daily visitor. She brought colleagues, linguists, archaeologists, neurologists, each one examining the drawings from their respective expertise, each one leaving more disturbed than when they arrived. Dr. Marcus Webb, a linguistic anthropologist from Portland State University, identified the symbols Emma had drawn along the tunnel walls. "These are proto-Elamite," he said, pointing to a cluster of intricate markings. "An ancient writing system from Persia, circa 3200 BCE. It's largely undeciphered. We only have fragments." "What does it say?" Claire asked. "That's the problem. We don't know what it says. The script has never been fully translated, but Emma's version—" He pulled up images on his tablet, comparing them to archaeological records. "She's written complete sentences, grammatically consistent sentences, as if she's fluent in a dead language that no one alive can read." "Can you translate it?" David pressed. Dr. Webb hesitated. "I can try. But based on the few symbols we do understand, and the context of surrounding pictograms, I think it's a warning." "A warning about what?" "About returning. December the 1st, 2025, 18 days until 3I Atlas's closest approach. Emma's condition deteriorated rapidly. She stopped eating, stopped sleeping more than an hour at a time. Her skin grew pale. Her eyes developed dark circles. She drew constantly, compulsively, until her fingers bled, and she began to mouth words, silent words that Claire tried desperately to read. "I was there. I remember. It's coming back." One night, Claire found Emma standing at her bedroom window, staring up at the sky. When Claire approached, Emma turned, and for just a moment, just a fraction of a second, her eyes reflected light that wasn't there. A strange, cold luminescence. Then it was gone. "Emma," Claire whispered, terrified. Emma raised one small hand and pointed at the sky, at a specific point among the stars. Claire looked up but saw nothing unusual, just the vast darkness of space. When she looked back down, Emma was drawing again. This time, the image showed a woman, an adult woman with Emma's face, floating inside the comet, surrounded by the strange, elongated entities. And beneath the drawing, Emma had written something in shaky letters. "My name was Dr. Elena Volkov. I died on March 15th, 2019. Dr. Chen ran the name through every database she could access. It took 6 hours. At 11:43 p.m. on December 2nd, she called the Carters. "I found her," Dr. Chen said, her voice barely above a whisper. Dr. Elena Volkov, Russian astrophysicist. She was part of a classified mission, a deep space observation project launched in 2018. The mission was codenamed Atlas 1. Its objective was to intercept and study the interstellar object Oumuamua, and if possible, redirect probes to any subsequent interstellar visitors. And David's heart was pounding. The mission went dark in March 2019. All 6 crew members were declared lost, presumed dead due to catastrophic systems failure. But here's what wasn't made public. 3 days before contact was lost, the crew reported detecting an anomalous object entering our solar system, an object that wouldn't be officially discovered until July 2025. 3i Atlas, Claire breathed. Yes, the last transmission from Dr. Volkov described the object as alive, as calling to her, and then Dr. Chen paused. The transmission ended. They never heard from her again. When was she declared dead? David asked, though he already knew the answer. March 15th, 2019. Emma was born on November 3rd, 2019, 7 months and 19 days later. That night, Emma drew one final image before collapsing into a fever-induced sleep. The drawing showed 2 figures. One was Dr. Elena Volkov, floating in the comet, reaching towards something beyond the frame. The other was Emma, standing on Earth, reaching upward. Between them, a thin thread of light connected their outstretched hands, and written along the bottom in perfect adult handwriting, "I never left. I'm still inside, and it's bringing me home." December 7th, 2025. 12 days until 3i Atlas reaches its closest approach to Earth. The story had leaked. Not to mainstream media, not yet, but through academic circles, whispered conferences, encrypted emails between scientists who didn't want to stake their reputations on the impossible. Dr. Chen had assembled a small team, 7 researchers, each sworn to secrecy, each bringing unique expertise. They worked out of a converted barn on the Carter property, transforming it into a makeshift research facility. Computers, telescopes, medical equipment, and at the center of it all, Emma's drawings, pinned to every available surface like pieces of an incomprehensible puzzle. Emma herself had been moved to a medical bed in the barn. She was too weak to walk now. Her fever spiked every night at 3:47 a.m., the exact time the comet had reached perihelion. Dr. Rachel Foster, a pediatric neurologist, monitored her constantly. "Her brain activity is unprecedented," Dr. Foster reported during a team meeting. She displayed EEG readouts on a laptop screen. During her episodes, she's showing patterns consistent with memory recall, but not normal memory. It's as if she's accessing information stored in quantum states, information that shouldn't be biologically possible to contain. "Reincarnation," Dr. Chen said quietly. "I don't believe in reincarnation," Dr. Foster replied. "Neither did I, until now." Dr. Pavel Rostov, an exobiologist from Moscow State University, had been studying 3i Atlas remotely since its discovery. He'd flown to Oregon the moment he'd heard about Emma. Now he stood before the team, presenting findings that made the impossible seem inevitable. 3i Atlas is not a normal comet, he began, his English heavily accented. Spectrographic analysis shows organic compounds we've never encountered. Amino acid chains that don't match any terrestrial or even theoretical extraterrestrial life. And there's something else. He pulled up a thermal image of the comet. The interior is warmer than it should be, significantly warmer, as if there's an energy source inside, something generating heat independently of solar radiation. "What kind of energy source?" David asked. He'd become an unofficial member of the team, unable to leave his daughter's side. "We don't know. But based on Emma's drawings," Dr. Rostov overlaid one of Emma's images onto the thermal scan. "The match was perfect. The warm zones corresponded exactly to the areas Emma had marked with strange symbols. I believe the comet is a vessel." Silence fell over the room. A vessel for what? Claire whispered. For consciousness. December 10th. 9 days remaining. Emma's fever broke at dawn. For the first time in weeks, her eyes were clear, focused. Dr. Foster ran immediate tests. Everything appeared normal. Physically, Emma was recovering. But when Claire approached her bedside, Emma looked up with eyes that were no longer a child's. "Mom," she said. The word was barely audible, hoarse from years of silence, but it was unmistakably speech. Claire burst into tears, pulling Emma into her arms. "Oh my God, you're talking, you're actually—" "I remember everything," Emma continued, her voice gaining strength. "I remember being her, Dr. Volkov. I remember the ship, the mission. I remember entering it." The team gathered around immediately, recording equipment activated. "Emma," Dr. Chen said gently, "can you tell us what happened to Dr. Volkov? What happened inside the comet?" Emma closed her eyes. When she spoke, her voice took on a different cadence, older, as if two people were speaking simultaneously. "We received the signal on March 12, 2019, a pulse emanating from the object we'd been tracking. It wasn't radio waves. It was something else. Something that bypassed our instruments and went directly into our minds. And it was beautiful." "The signal made you go to it," Dr. Chen prompted. "No, the signal called us home. I'd been there before. I knew it. I'd always known it. I took an EVA pod. Against orders, against logic, I flew toward the object. It was only 3 kilometers wide, but as I approached, it opened, like a flower, like a mouth, and I went inside." "What did you see?" Dr. Rostov leaned forward, transfixed. "Eternity." Emma sat up slowly, her movements careful, deliberate. "The comet isn't from another star system. It's older than that. It's a library, a repository. It travels between worlds, collecting consciousnesses, preserving them. When a being dies, if their consciousness is strong enough, if their connection to the universe is deep enough, the comet takes them, stores them, carries them forward." "How many?" Dr. Chen asked. "Millions. Maybe billions, across millions of years. Every sentient species it's encountered, all of them inside, all of them still aware, still thinking, still existing. And Elena Volkov, you became part of it," Claire said, gripping her daughter's hand. "I died there, my body did, but my consciousness was absorbed, integrated, and for 6 years I floated in that vast collective mind, experiencing everything, every memory, every life, until—" She paused, tears forming, "until I felt the pull. The comet was returning to Earth. And I wanted to come back. I wanted to live again. So when the convergence aligned, when a new consciousness was forming, Emma's consciousness, I slipped through. You reincarnated," Dr. Foster breathed. "We merged, Elena and Emma, 2 souls sharing one body. I didn't mean to frighten you, I didn't mean to hurt her, but the closer the comet gets, the stronger the connection becomes, and it's pulling me back." December 14th, 5 days remaining. Astronomers worldwide were now tracking 3I Atlas with unprecedented interest. It had deviated from its projected path, a subtle shift that defied gravitational physics. It was slowing down, as if it were braking. News outlets began picking up the story. "Mysterious comet alters trajectory. Scientists baffled by 3I Atlas behavior." Conspiracy theories erupted online. UFO enthusiasts claimed it was an alien ship. Religious groups called it a sign of the apocalypse. But in the barn in rural Oregon, 7 scientists and 1 family knew the truth, and they had to make a choice. "If the comet is a repository of consciousness," Dr. Chen said during an emergency meeting, "and if it's slowing down, that means—" "It's waiting for her," David finished. "It's waiting for Elena, for Emma. It wants to take her back. We can't let that happen," Claire said firmly. "She's our daughter. I don't care what she remembers. I don't care who she used to be. She's ours." Emma stood at the window, staring at the night sky. The comet was visible now to the naked eye, a faint smudge of light with a ghostly tail. She spoke without turning around. "I don't think I have a choice. That night, the entities began appearing, not physically, not entirely, but in reflections, in shadows, in the corner of vision, tall, elongated figures matching Emma's drawings. They moved through the barn like whispers of smoke, never quite solid, never quite gone. Dr. Foster screamed when she saw one standing beside Emma's bed at 3:47 a.m. By the time others rushed in, it was gone. But Emma was sitting up, eyes wide, pointing at the empty space. "They're here," she whispered. "The other consciousnesses. They're reaching out, crossing the boundary. They want to meet me. They want to welcome me back." "We need to get her away from here," Claire said desperately. "We need to run, hide, go somewhere the comet can't—" "It doesn't matter where we go," Emma interrupted. Her voice was calm, too calm. "The connection transcends distance, transcends matter. On December 19th, when 3i Atlas reaches its closest point, the barrier will be thinnest, and I will return." "No," David said firmly. "No, there has to be another way. We'll... Emma smiled sadly. "Dad, I've already died once. I know what's waiting. And it's not what you think. It's not an end. It's a continuation. It's..." Beautiful. December 17th. 2 days remaining. Emma collapsed during dinner. Her body began convulsing. Dr. Foster administered emergency sedatives, but nothing worked. Emma's eyes rolled back, showing only whites. And then, in a voice that wasn't hers, a voice layered with thousands of others, she spoke. "The vessel approaches. The convergence nears. All that was separated will reunite. All consciousness returns to the infinite. On the 19th, at the moment of closest passage, the door will open. And she will come home." Emma's body went limp. Her breathing steadied, but when Claire checked her daughter's arm, she found something that stopped her heart. A mark, a brand, glowing faintly beneath the skin. The same symbols Emma had drawn. The proto-Elamite script that warned of returning. It was spreading slowly, covering her arm like living text. Dr. Chen examined it with a UV light. "It's not on her skin. It's in her skin, at a cellular level, as if her DNA is being rewritten." "Into what?" David demanded. Dr. Chen looked up, her face pale. "Into a beacon." 6 a.m. December 19th, 2025. The day had arrived. Across the world, millions of people gazed at the sky, unaware that something profound was about to occur. News networks ran segments on 3i Atlas, celebrating its closest approach as a once-in-a-lifetime astronomical event. Watch parties were organized, telescopes sold out. Humanity looked upward with wonder. In Oregon, 7 scientists and 2 terrified parents prepared for something far darker. Emma hadn't slept. The glowing symbols now covered both arms, her collarbone, spreading slowly across her chest. She sat calmly in the barn, surrounded by monitoring equipment that showed readings no one could interpret. Her brain activity had synchronized with something external, a frequency that pulsed in rhythm with the comet's rotation. "We're running out of time," Dr. Foster said, checking Emma's vitals. "Whatever's happening to her is accelerating. If we don't... What?" Claire snapped. "What can we possibly do? Tell me. Give me a solution that doesn't end with me losing my daughter." No one answered, because there was no answer. Dr. Chen stood at a telescope, tracking 3i Atlas's position. "Closest approach is calculated at 7:23 p.m. Pacific time. That's when..." She stopped. "When what?" David asked. "When the door opens," Emma answered for her. She stood up from her bed, moving with an eerie grace. "When the dimensional barrier is thinnest, when consciousness can cross freely between physical and quantum states." "You're not going," Claire said, positioning herself between Emma and the door. "I won't let you." Emma looked at her mother with infinite sadness. "Mom, I love you. You gave me life, real life, 6 years of warmth and safety and love. But I also love what I was, who I was." Dr. Volkov spent her entire life searching for meaning in the cosmos. She found it, and now I have a chance to rejoin something greater, to become part of the infinite. "You're 6 years old. I'm also 37. I'm also 3,000. I'm everyone who's ever been absorbed into Three-Eye Atlas. I carry their memories, their dreams, their essence, and they're calling me home. The team spent the day trying everything. Dr. Rostov proposed using electromagnetic fields to disrupt the connection. They built a makeshift Faraday cage around Emma, flooding it with counter-frequencies. It didn't work. The symbols continued spreading. Dr. Webb attempted a ceremonial binding ritual based on ancient texts, desperate pseudoscience, but they were past scientific rationality. He chanted in proto-Elamite, burned sage, drew protective circles. Emma simply stepped through them, unaffected. Dr. Foster suggested induced coma, heavy sedation to keep Emma unconscious during the convergence. They tried. Emma's body rejected every sedative. Her metabolism had changed. She was no longer entirely human. At 4:32 p.m., Emma walked outside. No one could stop her. Claire tried to physically hold her back, but Emma moved with strength that shouldn't exist in a 6-year-old body. She stood in the field behind the farmhouse, face tilted toward the sky. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "Can't you feel it? The pull, the invitation, all consciousness reaching out across the void, welcoming me back." David knelt beside her. "Emma, please. I know you remember being Elena. I know you've lived before, but you're also our daughter. You're the little girl who loves chocolate milk and stuffed rabbits and Saturday morning cartoons. You're Emma. Please don't leave us." For a moment, Emma's expression wavered. Tears formed in her eyes. "Dad, I don't know if I can stop it." The comet was visible now. A brilliant streak across the evening sky, brighter than Venus, casting strange shadows across the landscape. Every person in the Northern Hemisphere could see it. Social media exploded with photographs, videos, theories. But in Oregon, reality was fracturing. At 7:15 p.m., the entities appeared in force, not in shadows this time, not in reflections. They materialized in the field. Dozens of them. Tall, elongated forms composed of light and something else, something between energy and matter. They surrounded Emma in a circle, silent, waiting. Dr. Chen recorded everything, her hands shaking. This is first contact. This is proof of... This is them coming to take our daughter," Claire screamed. 7:20 p.m. Emma began to levitate. Her feet lifted slowly off the ground, her body rising toward the sky. The symbols on her skin blazed with cold light. Her eyes opened, but they were no longer eyes. They were windows, portals, showing glimpses of the infinite consciousness stored within Three-Eye Atlas. Millions of faces, millions of lives, all existing simultaneously within the comet's vast interior. "Emma!" David reached up, grabbing her hand. "Fight it! Stay with us!" Emma looked down, and in that moment, she made a choice. 7:23 p.m., the moment of closest approach. Three-Eye Atlas hung directly overhead, filling the sky with its impossible presence. The air itself seemed to ripple. The barrier between dimensions grew thin as paper. Emma spoke, her voice echoing with the weight of millions. "I am Elena Volkov. I am Emma Carter. I am every consciousness that has ever joined the infinite, and I choose both." "What?" Claire gasped. "I don't have to leave completely. I can exist in dual states. Quantum superposition of consciousness. Part of me stays, part of me returns. I'll be Emma still, growing, living, loving you, but I'll also be connected. I'll carry the collective. I'll be the bridge between humanity and what lies beyond." "Is that possible?" Dr. Chen whispered. "I'm making it possible." Emma reached toward the sky with one hand, toward her parents with the other. And as Three-Eye Atlas passed overhead, something extraordinary happened. The comet responded. A beam of light descended from its nucleus, not electromagnetic radiation, but pure consciousness made visible. It touched Emma gently, flowing into her, through her, merging with her essence. The symbols on her skin pulsed once, brilliantly, then faded to faint scars. Emma descended slowly back to the ground. Her parents caught her, held her, sobbing. "I'm here," Emma said softly. "I'm still here." But when she opened her eyes, they were different. Older, wiser, containing depths that hadn't existed before. December 20th, 2025. Morning. Emma sat at the kitchen table eating pancakes. She laughed at something her father said. She played with the family dog. She drew pictures, but this time they were simple childhood sketches of flowers and sunshine. To outward appearances, she was a normal 6-year-old girl who'd miraculously recovered from a mysterious illness. But at night, when everyone else slept, Emma would stand at her window and look at the sky. 3i Atlas was already fading from view, continuing its journey through the solar system and beyond. But the connection remained. She could feel it, the vast consciousness, the billions of lives all coexisting in quantum harmony. And sometimes she would receive messages, memories from ancient civilizations, mathematical proofs for equations humanity hadn't discovered yet, warnings about cosmic events decades in the future. Dr. Chen and her team had stayed. The barn was now a permanent research facility. Together with Emma, they would spend years decoding the information she carried, translating the knowledge of 1 million extinct species, learning secrets of the universe that had been hidden since the dawn of time. Emma was no longer just a girl. She was humanity's first true contact with something beyond, a living library, a bridge between Earth and infinity. Years later, Emma is 12. She sits in a university lecture hall addressing scientists from around the world. Her message is simple but profound. We are not alone. We have never been alone. Consciousness is the universe's fundamental property. It doesn't end with death. It transforms, it journeys. And somewhere out there, traveling through the cosmic void, is a vessel carrying the essence of everyone who's ever lived, everyone who's ever thought, dreamed, loved. 3i Atlas will return in 87 years, and when it does, more of you will remember. More of you will feel the call, because some of you are already carrying echoes of lives lived elsewhere, lives lived before. The question isn't whether you believe me. The question is, will you be ready when you remember who you really are? She smiles, a knowing ancient smile, and somewhere in deep space, 3i Atlas continues its eternal voyage, carrying its infinite passengers toward the next world, the next convergence, the next evolution, a drawing made by a 12-year-old girl with old eyes. It shows Earth from space and approaching from the distance, slow but inevitable, a familiar comet beginning its long journey home. Beneath the drawing, a single line of text, "See you in 2112."